the classroom. I think if you think about what they're actually doing on a day-to-day basis, I think you find that they acquire these kind of skills. Yes, I think they do acquire language skills, reading, listening, speaking, writing. I think they also acquire a bunch of language learning skills, things like applying learned rules. They're given grammar rules, they're told to, well, either they're given grammar rules or they're asked to work out grammar rules, and then they're told to apply them and put them into practice, and they learn that kind of skill. Working rules out from context, deductive skills, understanding vocabulary from context. They learn language learning skills. I don't know if anybody's read the English Next publication of the British Council. David Graddol says this, and I agree with him. In a globalised postmodern world, a rather different model of education has emerged. An individual to participate fully in the economy as worker, consumer and responsible citizen needs to be even better informed and about global as well as local issues, and needs higher order and more flexible skills. Probably in your professional life and in your personal life, you probably find yourself doing or using these kinds of skills. Reaching a compromise, being assertive, managing your time, thinking creatively, understanding statistics. This is a favourite one of mine, because when I first left school, I actually did maths A-levels. I did maths and further maths. So I kind of had a bit of a maths and science beginning and then went into English. And there are key, I think basically the whole of our society is statistically illiterate. So things like this, understanding statistics, I think are really kind of key skill. Persuading others, identifying resources, preparing presentations. You probably find yourself doing a number and a combination of these every day without even, in lots of times without even thinking about it. You probably don't spend very much time in the classroom with your students explicitly focusing on these kinds of skills. How can you go about introducing all this kind of area into your classroom? Maybe some of you do already. I think there are two key things that need to be done in order to start bringing these into your classroom. First of all, I think you need to find some way of bringing order to them. I mean, that's just a bunch of skills. You need to find some way of creating an ordered approach to them, categorizing them, and then focus on the individual skills in meaningful, motivating ways. That's what we've decided to do through these materials. What we did in these books was each unit ends with what we call the life skills spread. So that spread develops one of these skills. So in order to be able to manage those within the books, we had to find a way of categorizing the skills and a way of focusing on each individual skill. We came up with these key 5 areas of skills, 5 categories. Organisation and planning skills, collaboration skills, information and research, thinking and problem-solving skills, and self-direction and learning skills. Time management and preparing presentations we call organisation and planning skills. Reaching a compromise and persuading others we call collaboration skills. Identifying resources and statistics are information skills. Thinking creatively and establishing priorities are thinking and problem-solving skills. And being assertive and being self-aware are self-direction and learning skills. Obviously, the precise answers you've got aren't important, but if yours looks like that, give yourself 10 out of 10. Let's look at one example of a task sequence for how you might teach one skill, and then we're going to do a few more practical things together. Here's a target skill: establishing priorities, which we might describe as working with specific criteria and limited resources and ordering in importance or relevance. the way we've done it in these materials is that, as much as possible, we've tried to give students, first of all, a very simple 3-step summary of what's involved in this skill, and then a task sequence that kind of works through that 3-step, not necessarily 3 tasks, but the task sequence works through these steps. The steps, I think, are important here are, first of all, you need to understand the criteria. When you're establishing priorities, why are you establishing priorities? If we had infinite time and infinite resources, we wouldn't need to establish priorities. You only have to establish priorities because your resources and your time, your money, are limited. Here's how you might go about doing that with a class of students. Here's a situation. They're given here's the rubric. You visit a website about different cities around the world. You see this comment about your city. Read the comment and answer the questions. So it's a contemporary, internet-based scenario. They're looking at a website and they say a comment about their own city. And the comment says, I'm in the city for 1 day next week and I don't know what to visit. I don't have much money, only $30. Does anyone have any ideas? Thanks. The reason why priorities need to be established, the criteria are, he's got limited time and he's got limited money. And then before they reply to Danny, think about the options, and they're working in pairs to generate more ideas. Make a list of the main attractions in the city, what it would cost and the time you need to visit each one. So where might be the city museum, how much it's free, how long it's going to take about 4 hours to get around the museum. So they come up with a list of options in relation to the criteria, the limits that they're working within. And also I want to give them some language input because they need some specific language to perform these kind of functions. Things like, I think one of the main attractions is this. I want to give them this piece, this chunk of language, the main attractions. Then I want them to start thinking about organising it. Complete this top 5 things to do list for Danny with a partner. Decide why you think Danny should see or do these things, and remind them of the limits. So they're now looking at the list they've got in pairs and trying to come up with the top 5 things that they think he should visit. Again, a bit more language input. In this case, it's adjectives they can use for giving these reasons why he should visit it. So famous, important, historical, cheap, etc. And finally, I want them to put that into action and write a comment to go onto the website to respond to this Danny. I've given them a framework. Hello Danny 1995, that was his username on his original comment. There are lots of great things to do in my city. You should definitely, you should probably, you should really. So I'm also guiding them towards 3 levels of priority here as well by the use of these adverbs. And then finally, as a whole class, they're reading the options out to the class and deciding which one makes the best use of his money and his time. So I've worked from the criteria to the options to putting it all together and establishing some kind of priority. So through that kind of task sequence, I think they're working exactly in a very focused way on this concept of establishing priority. So, to summarise what I've been saying, I think students generally acquire certain types of skill in the language classroom. And those are important skills, but they're not necessarily the ones that give students the most flexibility in future careers, or the ones that employers want to see. And they need to develop their life skills, soft skills, higher order skills, meta skills. We can aid that through a systematic approach, and we should aim to provide clear focus on individual soft skills in meaningful motivated content.